Hello, everybody. I'm Wahida Clark. My subject is reset, rise up, and level up. Like he said, 4 times New York Times bestselling author, crowned the official queen of street literature, author of 24 novels, publisher and innovative publisher award winner, the first street lit author to be signed to a major record label. I'm talking about Cash Money Records, flying all across the country doing book signings and guest appearances, and vice president of Prodigal Sons and Daughters, as well as the business development officer. However, like Sean just said, it wasn't always like that. I was also known as number 48236-019. That's what I heard for 9 years while serving that 10.5-year federal prison sentence. I landed a job at an advertising company. It ended up being a bad company, but before I knew it, I was working there. I rose to the top. I was the only female in my department. I ended up being the #1 salesperson. So eventually, a year into the job, the company was raided. We were all arrested. The people in my department, we took it to trial, and we lost. The judge gave me 10.5 years in prison. My friend and mentor who hired me, he ended up becoming a star witness for the prosecutor. So, hey, there was no way I can do anything about that. But just so happens that one of my books ended up being the base of The Wolf of Wall Street way before it was a Hollywood blockbuster. So that's why I ended up in Lexington, Kentucky at the federal prison camp. I had just got hired as the computer teacher during the day, and then the computer teacher during the night, and I was the librarian during the day. So I had called home one day to say, okay, I'm trying to settle in, do my time. They said, Wahida, you have no money, we're packing up, we're going back to Jersey, and as a matter of fact, you are leaving 2 teenage daughters here to fend for themselves. So needless to say, after that phone call, I had to have a heart-to-heart with God, because that was a challenge going before me, leaving the kids home, ready to serve a 10.5-year federal prison sentence. Now, shortly after that prayer, I'm sitting at my job in the library. I'm like, oh gosh, what am I going to do? I pick up a hip-hop magazine, and there was a picture in there of a young man named Shannon Holmes. It said he was in prison, and he had written a book called Be More Careful. I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy was in prison, and he wrote a book. And here I am sitting in the library. So I start looking at all the books on the shelves. Then I start visualizing my name on the spines of the books. Wahida Clark, Wahida Clark. Then it seemed like the books were screaming my name. Wahida, Wahida, Wahida. And that was my light bulb moment. I said, I'm going to write a book. No, I didn't know how to write. I just started writing, and I ended up getting published right while I was in prison. But during that time, I had to hit pause, reset. What am I going to do? Write the book, commit, and focus. Now, the federal prison camp, the policy manual, a big policy book, it says in one part of the manual that an inmate can write a book and gain financially. But then when you turn the pages, it says that an inmate can write a book but can't gain financially. So what did they do? They put me in a hole for 9 months while they figured out the contradiction in their own policy manual. But during that time while I was in the hole, I ended up writing another book. Then shortly after that, they came, they gave me my verdict. They said, well, Ms. Clark, since we don't know what to do with you, your punishment is we're going to kick you out of Lexington. You can never come back to Lexington, and we're sending you to Alderson, West Virginia. So they packed me up, shipped me out. But by this time, I already had 3 books written. I had fan mail. I had 2 publishing contracts. So I went to Alderson, West Virginia, feeling like I was a superstar. But when I get there, I'm popular. mail is coming in, manuscripts are coming in. The prison says, Ms. Clark, what are you doing? You're running a business while you're in the prison. So they put me in the hole again while they figured out. They didn't have to figure anything out, but they put me in the hole. I lost my phone privileges, my email privileges, my cubicle privileges. I'm like, oh my gosh, the only contact that I had with my family was through snail mail. So what did I do? I had to reset and start all over again. However, after I wrote that next book, what happened was, hold on one second. Okay, awesome, hold on one second. I was getting tons of emails and manuscripts and manuscripts, books, fan mail. They said, Wahida, you can't do this anymore. And some of the manuscripts people were sending me was because they wanted me to critique them and publish them one day when I started my own publishing company, which I did do. I published other authors. So being in the prison was my inspiration to starting my own publishing company. And I had Martha Stewart. When she was there, right before she left, I said, Martha, please look at my business plan and let me know what do you think of my business plan. So she looked at it and gave me her approval. So that's how I was able to start my publishing company that was launched right there from the prison. Now, again, pause and hit reset. It just so happened that while I was in that punishment area, I was in a part of the prison where the lights was on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, right next to the bathrooms. Could I feel sorry for myself? No. Could I cry? No. We just had to hit reset, buckle up, pause, and keep it moving. So I was, even though that was felt like a bad situation, it wasn't a bad situation. But after 9.5 years, I was released. I went home, I had 7 novels published. I had 2 major publishing contracts. The publisher was happy with me. They said, Wahida, while you were in prison, you sold more books in prison than authors out here in the free world. But I went home with all of them accolades, I also had a $9 million restitution that the judge had ordered was supposed to be shared with all of the co-defendants on my case. There were like 15 of us. But it just so happened I was in the spotlight, so the prison, they thought that I was making millions of dollars. So I'm the only one who they're saying, you have to pay this back. So what they did do, they froze all of my bank accounts. They froze all of my royalty payments. They cut off everything. While anybody that did business with me, they subpoenaed their records. They stopped, they shut everything down while they figured out and tried to count this money that they thought that I was making. So during that process of while, again, they had to figure it out, everything shut down for me. My business shut down. I couldn't pay my IRS. I couldn't pay my payroll. The publishing company was suffering. What could I do? I had to hit reset, pause, and figure this thing out. I'm still here. I had to go to Phoenix and have the hearing. They eventually said, okay, you just have to pay 25% of all of your earnings. Then they took the freeze off everything, and I was back in business. But by that time, I had already suffered a major hit. However, I had a choice to feel defeated, angry, or feel sorry for myself. I couldn't do neither of those, guys. I had to just keep moving and keep living and rise above the storm. So don't be afraid to pause, meaning take a moment to look in the mirror at whatever challenge you are facing and hit it head on. You know, it can't ignore it. If you ignore it, it goes nowhere. Reset, meaning to acknowledge that you now must take the time to map out a plan and a solution. Rise up means to accept that if it's to be, it's up to me. Level up means to rise to the occasion. Visualize yourself doing that thing that you want to do or that someone inspires you to do. Accept it and execute. Level up also means to network up. Be around people that inspire you, that have attained what you want to attain or achieved what you want to achieve in your life, career, or your business. All right. And my name is Wahida Clark. I am the official queen of Street Lit, and I hope my talk has inspired you, and thank you for listening. Have a great day.